Hi, I hope you're well and your week has started fine. Yeah, my week is coming along well. Okay, it's the first day though. I think my week is coming along well. So I sat down today and I was going through a certain post and I read something about a single mother, and she was talking about how the society really approaches her situation and stuff. And I remembered a book I read, and I was supposed to do a review, which I did not do. Yes. And I just want to do that review right now, a little bit. So the book is The Midnight Sun. This was my January read. It's called The Midnight Sun by J.B. Omukangala. Yeah. I read it in January, and I'll tell you, I was supposed to do the review in early February, but I'll tell you what happened. So I started reading the book, and then I paused in the middle of the book because I felt, let me say, it got too emotional a little bit, and I couldn't keep reading the book. So I took a pause. After some few weeks, I went back to it and I finished it. So after that, me not doing the review, it was just laziness, but I'm going to do the review right now. And one thing I have to say first before I even do the review, the book is a great book. A great book for that case. So you can either buy the book, but I am willing to lend it to someone since I'm done reading. If you'd like to read it, I can lend for now. One thing I'd say, I feel like it should be made as one of the literature books that students are studying in Kenya because it is very relevant in our today's society. And I'm going to tell you why I think it is very relevant. So the book is about a girl called Nasirumbi. Nasirumbi is a girl born to Mr. and Mrs. Wasike, and she's born as the only daughter to a house where you have a lot of sons. And then, the society, how it really views sons are more preferred as compared to daughters. So she was the only daughter, very smart, very bright, schools very well, goes to college, and she was doing nursing. So she goes to college. While at college, she meets a guy. I think everyone, when you went to college and you were schooling, you met this guy and you are old enough. So they started dating. The guy's called Ejakite. So Nasirumbi starts dating with Ejakite. And as they are almost clearing school, Ejakite happens to meet a white woman. So both of them are Tesos. Yeah, the book is centered around the Teso culture. Nasirumbi, Ejakite meets Lucy, who is a white lady. Lucy kind of lures Ejakite into her world because she was offering things. I give you a car, I give you this, I give you that. And for some reason, they are set for marriage. And in the process, Ejakite ends the relationship with Nasirumbi. But even as he ends the relationship, these people had done that thing. Danny calls it, the writer, J.B. Omukangala calls it nocturnal activities. Yeah, they had sex. And unfortunately, Nasirumbi was pregnant, but she didn't know. So she comes and realizes later she's pregnant, and she's pregnant to a guy who has moved on with a white lady. And when she goes back home and says she's pregnant, the father disowns her. And she has to leave home. She can't stay home because the father has disowned her, and she can't continue with school. So her dreams of becoming a nurse are kind of shuttered down. She can't go ahead and become a nurse as she wanted to. And as she's disowned from her home, she goes to stay with the aunt. Yeah, so the aunt kind of helps to accommodate her with time until she gets the kid. And even after getting the kid, she still stays with the aunt. And for a major part of that time, for around 2, 3, 4 years, she stays with the aunt. And one thing that I found very, 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 very relevant according to today's society, I think I have seen several cases whereby a girl gets pregnant, and then you come back home and your parent is like, no, I don't have anything to do with you. Leave. You need to leave. I cannot keep paying you school fees. I cannot keep doing that. I actually have a friend who had a similar situation. So she got pregnant in third year, and the mother was like, I am not paying you school fees. If you decide to get a kid, just raise your kid. So Nasirumbi was having the same thing. And one thing that J.B. Mukangala really highlighted in the book was things to do with the plight of a single mother. That's why I think the book is very relevant. I feel like at this time in our country, no, actually the society as a whole, the family is under attack. We have a very high number of single mothers, and in most cases we tend to find them coming saying, oh, this and this is happening to single mothers. You know, they have a lot of issues that they really face, and it's one thing that JB Mukangala highlighted in the book. So as the lady stays at the aunt's place, you find she's kind of discriminated even by other women, even in cases where when she's going to the river to fetch water, you know, there's that backlash that women have. They start talking about you. Oh, amepata mtoto out of wedlock. You know, like even for some reason, people don't want even to see you saying hi to their husbands or boyfriends because of fear of maybe you'd take their husbands, you'd steal their husbands. That's what they say. Utawaibia bwana ama utawaibia boyfriends. So it's one thing that actually Pia the lady faced, and she was disowned from home. That I have seen a lot also, whereby you get pregnant and you're chased away from home. And then the issue of shattered dreams. Yeah, I think that is the one thing that really caught me. So you get pregnant and everything that you were planning comes to a standstill. It can't keep going on because you have a child to raise. Now your priorities kind of change because a child is in the way. And I think it was the saddest part about this story, you know, about people talking about you. That will happen and it's okay. You can actually deal with that. But then again, we have a thing of, you were a young girl with dreams. You had a lot of things you wanted to achieve. But then again, you cannot achieve whatever you wanted to achieve because you have a baby that you need to raise, and for some reason your condition doesn't put you in a position whereby you're raising the kid and you're still pursuing your education and still pursuing your career and stuff. So I think that's the thing that really happened with Nasirumbi that really saddened me to some extent. I was reading the book and I'm like, but really, did he have to write this book in such a way? He made it very sad. I was trying to put myself in the situation. So I'm in school and then I have this kid and then I can't live my dream. Like, Ayezi. And the saddest part about it is the guy is continuing with his dream. He's still doing his engineering course, his business is running, everything is running, but the lady's life is at a standstill. But as the book comes to a conclusion, Nasirumbi tries to get her life in order, and the guy, Ejakite, breaks up with Lucy, and he starts looking for his family once again. So he's looking for Nasirumbi and the daughter so that they can raise the daughter together. And at the end of the book, they are actually like, they do a traditional wedding and the child is accepted into the family, and Nasirumbi is set to go back to school and complete her education. But as I was reading the book, let me tell you, I tend to study as a student, so I do a lot of highlighting in the book when I'm reading, a lot of underlining and a lot of writing down. And I will tell you a few things that I read and they really caught my eyes, and I was like, this could make a very good discussion, or it was a different perspective I was trying to look at it from. And I figured out it's something that really goes on in the world today, and it made sense. So as Nasirumbi was trying to patch things up with the boyfriend, and you having these communications within the families, a lot of things came up during the conversations and a lot of things were said, and I'm just going to highlight some of the few things that were said either by the aunt, the father, or the uncle as they were trying to sort out the issue. And I'll read one thing that I read. I'm sorry, I'm going to read from my notebook because I wrote it down. Yes, so Nasirumbi is a single mother and she's attacked by everyone. And she was really yearning to be, you see, the way you, okay, let me say in the African society, ladies have been raised up kind of for marriage. You're raised up by your mother. It's like she's training you for marriage. I am teaching you to cook, to be cooking for your husband. I am teaching you to clean, to be cleaning for your husband. So at the end of the day, even if you get a kid out of wedlock, most ladies tend to feel like they should be in a marriage setup. And there's something that I read along the book that said, it was now from Nasirumbi's context, and it said, but deep down in her heart, she wanted marriage. She yearned for a reliable man by her side, someone that would provide shoulders to lean on during her lowest days. And I think it's common everywhere. You find single mothers who want to get married, and because the society really attacks them, so they kind of tend to yearn for marriage. Yes, yes. So as they were sorting the issue, you see the way, I think you've heard it, the way people say, no one is gonna love you with a child, especially if you're a single mother, you've come with a child and you're being told no one is going to love you and you already have a kid. It's like a burden. They tend to consider it as a burden. And there's something that, as they were solving their family issues, the uncle pointed out, and I found it to be very interesting. So he said, no sane man will accept to carry a burden that is not his. Since time immemorial, an extra mouth to feed, dress, shelter, and pay fee for is a big burden for a struggling man, particularly when it comes before his own. So it's an issue whereby you want to get married, but you want to get married, you have a child, the husband you're getting married to doesn't have a child, and the society tends to feel like, no, hakuna mwanaume anataka hiyo kazi yote, yeye atana mtoto wake, unamkuja na burdens mingi na kila kitu. So it was pointed out in the book, and I was like, this is true, it's relevant, it is in our current society today. And then now an issue of women empowerment came by, and how women, after they are empowered, don't want to get married, they want to live their lives as they want. And somewhere in the book it was written, the woman of today is an empowered woman, not like the woman of yesterday that was only seen and not heard. So in the traditional African society, let me say women were like flower girls. Wako, lakini their thoughts are not really considered as much. So they are there to be seen, literally. You're not supposed to be heard. Your thoughts can never be taken into account. Your opinion was never taken into account. But we look at the society today, you find women seated in boardrooms, women running organizations, women in the management positions, and women have a say. They're not here to be seen only. They are being seen, they're being heard. And I read it and I'm like, this is interesting. This is really true. So someone said, we have a lot of issues in the society today because a lot of women are empowered. And in the book, the writer says, not the writer, but someone in the one of the characters in the book says, if we continue pampering these girls the way we do, we are creating a serious crisis in the near future. And I think I've heard it more than enough times whereby people say, the more you're giving girls privilege to get education, you are empowering them to get to better positions. That's why we're having a society whereby we have women who don't want to be governed, women who don't want to be in a marriage setup. So we are kind of killing the family setup in the name of empowering the woman, and it becomes really difficult. And I thought that was something also I've heard and I've seen the society being said today. And now I will read the whole paragraph thing that's was literally pointing into that, which says the women empowerment narrative has destroyed more women than it has built. When we accepted to educate our daughters to higher levels as part of an empowerment plan, we didn't envisage having women who demean marriage and family. We didn't intend to have girls who go for family planning while in their father's compounds for obvious reasons. Neither did we want to have women who scored good grades in bed than in class, be married at school and single at home. So I will highlight what has been pointed here. So women who are empowered, according to the paragraph, was women who are empowered are demeaning marriage and family. Empowered women, again, let me say they are considered not to be morally okay, because in the normal society, people who are on family planning, apparently what is considered to be right, people who are on family planning are people in a marriage setup. I'm not going to talk about family planning because it's a whole topic on itself. So people who are considered to be on family planning are supposed to be in a marriage setup. But we have women of today who are on family planning as early as 16, as early as they know they can be having sex. So that's again another issue. And then we have a thing of women being married at school and single at home. So I will tell you what happens. In campus, we have a lot of students. When you come to campus, unapata, someone lives with a boyfriend, someone lives with a girlfriend. Through the semester, it's more like a marriage setup, really. Yeah, because you're living as husband and wife. You're doing everything as husband and wife will do. But when you go home, when you mtoto wa daddy, you're still your father's child, a single girl. But in school, it's kind of you're married. And something else they said, women who score good grades in bed than in class. Yes, really intriguing. So I will read something else that they said. So the issue of women empowerment came up because Nasirumbi had a child. She got pregnant while at school, and she's not married, and then she still wants to get married, and she wants the person who marries her to marry her with a child and not to have an issue with it. And the older generation feels like actually we're messing up with our society. The more we are empowering women, we are destroying marriages, we are destroying the family setup, we are making everything go wrong. I don't know what you think about it. I don't know if you feel like women empowerment is a threat to the family and marriage. I don't know what you think about it. Do you feel like we have a higher case of single mothers and women who do not want to get married because they are empowered? It's just, you see the way we have general moves that come within a certain period, like kuna kwanga na wave. There's a wave that usually comes by. You find a certain wave comes where everyone wants to get married, or another wave comes whereby everyone wants to be a single mother. Ama people just want to be unmarried, ama people just don't want to have children. Personally, I think it's a personal decision, because I feel like I have seen a lot of women who are empowered, who are very educated, and still doing very good in a family setup. They are married with children and raising really good children, a very good family setup, you know. And on the other hand, I've seen still women who are married and don't want to, who are empowered, who are very educated in management positions and don't want to get married. I wouldn't really blame it on the empowerment thing. I think it's a personal decision, because currently you meet a girl and she tells you, me, I don't want to get a kid. I don't want to get a kid at any point in my life. I don't want to be answering to anyone. I don't want to be in a relationship. I don't want to be. So I feel like it's a personal decision that people make. We wouldn't really blame it on empowerment, as most people do, and keep complaining that we are having this case because most women are learned and they feel like they don't need men in the process because they are learned and they can really do their own things. I don't know what you think about it, but personally I think it's a personal decision. I wouldn't blame the crisis in the family today on women empowerment. And then they said something in the book also. It says we should tell our daughters the truth, that a real product of women empowerment is a woman who can make a strong marriage, raise a happy family that nourishes in moral values, and brings more to the table in terms of financial support, new ideas, and leadership qualities. And it is one thing I totally agreed with in the book. Women empowerment comes with you being able to, you know, you can make better decisions, you're a supportive partner to your husband, you are actually bringing more to the table. So I think that is one thing I really agreed to. And then now the issue of women who have children not being married, or someone who's marrying them, they tend to take them as a second-hand product. Do I say that? Yeah, like something that has been used and you need to use it again. Kama kitu ya mtumba, let me say kama kitu ya mtumba, si kitu ya duka. And somewhere in the book, the Nasirumbi girl says, I want to get married to a sober man who won't regard me as a second-hand wife. I don't think getting a child out of wedlock, which I never intended, has reduced the value of a woman I was brought up to be. And I'll tell you what I think. We are very quick to judge single mothers. Let me just say that. We are very quick to judge single mothers. We don't know the situation of what happened leading to them being single mothers. So we generally take it as an immorality thing. Oh, she was sleeping around before marriage, or she was doing this before this. Which is okay. But then again, sometimes you have cases of whereby you got a kid and then later on, things with your person didn't work out and you guys had to go separate ways. And it's a totally different scenario. But still, you'd get judged for the same thing as someone who would have misbehaved and gotten a kid. You know. So when they say they don't want to be considered as second-hand wives because they have a child, nothing in you diminishes because you have a child. I think that makes sense, Kwangu. So a certain lady in the book points out that our generation is totally different from their generation. They feel like the generation of today has more privileges than what they had. And she said, the freedom that girls of your generation enjoy today never existed during our days. The freedom to choose where, when, and whom to marry. You know, the Kitambo society was a funny society. The Kitambo society, once people decided you're supposed to be married, you will get married. The Kitambo society was at a place whereby if someone came home and talked to your parents and they were able to convince your parents that they're going to marry you, whether you want them or not, you will get married. We had cases of, was it considered as kidnapping, whereby someone would see you and said they want you to be their wife, and they'd just get you kutokoko kwa njia and they take you to their home and that's it. And then they come back and pay the bride price and everything else that was to follow. And it's a totally different society today. Today, someone would come to your home and say they want to marry you, and if you don't want, you will not get married. If you don't want to get married at 20, you will not. If you want to get married at 30, that's exactly what you do. If you want to get married at 40, that's exactly what you do. Like, the society is not giving that much pressure. There is pressure, yes, because kuna kuanganaka. We have a certain, what do I say? aka certain perspective that msichana atamaliza shule na 23, 24, 25 she's married, 27 amepata mtoto wa kwanza, by around 30, 32 amaliza kupata watoto. Kuna kuangana koka pressure, but then again we don't have ile pressure ya no, you have to get married. Sai, it is not working today's society, and I think that's what I think that's the general difference between our society today, our today's generation, and the previous generation that we had. So the older people, somewhere in the book, they say they are talking about this generation, our current generation, and they are talking more specifically about the girls, and they say some so let us assume some of the girls, so they say some don't see the value of marriage at all, and they don't want to be persuaded to get married since they are the CEOs of their lives, a position we never got an opportunity to hold in our days. You know, the modern woman, she is in control of her life. The modern woman runs her life. The modern woman is not to be told this is what you do. If she doesn't want to do it, she's not going to do it, because that's the modern woman. And in the traditional society, it's like they didn't have that privilege. See, you run your life the way you want, and you do what you want because you can and stuff. Yeah. And then something else I underlined in my book was, oh yeah, they were talking about children raised by single parents and what becomes of them. And Nasirumbi was asked a question. No, as they were talking with the aunt said, she was asked a question. They said, no, let me just find where I can read from. Oh yeah, I'll read it from here. Look at the growing number of street children who I am sure their parents are alive, drinking, dancing to some useless songs that praise immoralities. These children that are being raised by single parents, have you ever asked yourself what will become of them in their adulthood? For instance, if your baby is raised by you alone, how will you convince her that marriage is good? What marriage advice will you give her when she will be of age? Your so learned generation is a great threat to marriage and the subsequent generation. I think one thing that came out hapa ni, I have had situations of, you see, a lot of, not a lot, but I have had several people that I know who were raised by single parents, and they don't really regard marriage as something they'd consider, because they feel like their parents did a good job raising them on their own and they are okay with that, and because they have never been in a family setup where they saw marriage work, so they don't consider it as a thing they'd consider to work for them. So you find we are breeding a generation of people yearning to be single parents. So someone has been raised to be by a single parent, she also wants to be a single parent, and they will give birth to kids who will want to be single parents, and it continues then the generations. So for some reason the marriage institution is shaken, because now people don't want to change their perspectives about marriage because of what they've been gone through. And then they said something about the current generation, and it is one statement they said, which it wasn't a very good statement though, but they said, most of you are just clever on paper. In real life, you are completely ignorant. I don't know if you've had situations of whereby people say you might be book smart and you're not life smart. Yeah, you might ace like the A's in all your papers and everything, but when it comes to everything real life, no one can use your advice and get anywhere in the long run. Yeah. And do I agree with the statement? I do. We have a lot of people out here who are in very good careers, managers, and doing everything, you know, people who are really smart in their academics. But when you sit down and look at the life decisions they make, you get shocked by, is this the same person who is doing really well in the academics and their career, and yet in real life they can't really apply the knowledge they have in real life. So it kind of gets stuck in that essence of, you just book smart, and it doesn't work for people out here. hmm no, no, no. Whatever I've seen, I wanted to read it, but I can't really explain it. um so someone said in the book, a woman who leaves a child behind when getting married is like a snake in a hole. It sleeps with its head facing the exit. I know of a situation of someone who got married and they left their children home. You see the way people get kids and then unamwachanga na mom home, and then you come back to the city and you're living life, and because people are very cautious, they don't want to marry ladies with children, so you don't go ahead and say you have a child, because if you say that, it's going to lock you out of marriage. So you go ahead and keep quiet and keep doing what you're doing, and it works for you at that time. But then again, you find most of these women, this situation, like nikawa nakwanga almost ready to leave. They are in marriage, but they are almost ready to leave because they are thinking of the child. And it is very hard to work in such a situation. I don't know why people have made it so hard that someone can't come and just say, someone can't just come and say, I have a child, and if you're ready for the marriage, it will work. If it's not going to work for you, let's end things. So people keep hiding their past. So you won't say you have a child from the past because it will lock you out of marriage, because the society is very judgmental on settling with people who already have children. Yeah. Yes. And yeah, because I'm taking a break kidogo. John Savimbi Odende says, good article. Hello Lilian, I'm listening from Embu. Hi John, I hope you're well. SK says you're just smart. Oh really? Thank you. I hope you're well though. I hope your day has ended well and your week started well. I have been highlighting some of the things that I highlighted as I was reading The Midnight Sun by J.B. Omokangala. And I was just highlighting things that I thought are really relevant in the society today, and why I think it's like more of a book of the current generation, and it really makes sense. What else? I'm trying to see something else that I highlighted that I can talk about, but I don't think I have anything more. I felt like the main themes centered around the book was on women empowerment and the problems that are coming with the marriage institution, especially with the current generation, because we are having a rising case of single mothers and women who are learned and don't want to, okay, let's say women who are empowered and who don't want to get into a marriage setup, and it becomes really hard. And then there was an issue of whereby women who get children at a very young age before completing their education and realizing their dreams kind of get their life on a standstill, and they're not able to achieve their dreams for quite a while unless things work otherwise. But if you can, I think most of you can be witnesses to the fact that people that you know got kids at an early age did not really end up pursuing things they wanted to pursue. They ended up settling for a little bit, things that were less than what they had anticipated for. And we've had cases of being disowned from the family because of getting children. So yeah, I've seen something that I might have left and I don't want to leave. So Nasirumbi, as she was talking to the aunt reminds her, because she is a lady, she has a child, and she's not married, she has not finished her education, and she's getting old and she needs to get married. And the aunt tells her, you need to lower your ego, my dear. I'm not saying you lie flat on the ground like an envelope for men to step on you, but try to understand your situation and age. Let me tell you why that statement intrigued me, because I've had cases whereby you told, Kai, kwanza hiyo statement ya try to understand your situation and the age, especially the age factor. You start getting to 27, 28, and then you start hearing people telling you, Aki, ukiangalia miaka zako, me I think now you should stop being very choosy. If you find someone who is interested in you, I think it's time you considered them, because your age now does not allow you to keep choosing and deciding what you want and the character you're looking for. You know, like your age sasa imekufikisha point ya you can't keep doing that, and it is in the society. Tusikatae na tusiambiane kitu, but you find by the time mtu amefika 30 unaanza kuambiwa Aki, umefika 30, miaka zako sasa ziko kubaya. Na venye nani anakuanga nini, si umsikize tu, even if that wouldn't be your preference, is not the kind of person you'd settle for. But now you're being told to reconsider because your age doesn't allow you. Now that's the same thing that's happening to single mothers in this case, because you are a single mother and you know at least this person, I think that is how they are trying to think. When a single mother, and at least this person has shown interest in you. So because he has shown interest in you, just flow with the vibe so that you can get married, because you never know. Now that you're a single mother, you might never get someone who will want you. You might never get someone who will want to marry you. Yes, and that is the society we are living in today. So I saw that statement and I'm like, oh my God, this is so true. And whatever is happening out here in our society today. Let me see anything else that I underlined. Yes. Again, something in relation to marriage. Me, I don't know. This guy wrote the book centered on marriage, women empowerment, education, and the plight of single mothers. So, it was someone, an older person advising, and the older person said, I'm pleased to hear that from you. Many young women of your generation have ruined their marriages in the name of civilization. They think marriage is some sort of a coalition government where the ruling party and the opposition party exercise powers equally. It's never like that. In fact, by order of nature, a husband is and will always be the head of the family, regardless of his financial status that some of you seem to put a lot of emphasis on. Whenever a woman feels like she has taken charge and ought to exercise powers that isn't hers, the union will eventually crumble. You know, it's sad that it's a very true statement that I've heard and I've seen in the society. Most ladies, especially there's a complaint in the society that if you find a lady who maybe earns better or has higher wages, salary than their husband, they tend to be uncontrollable. Let me say, they can't be submissive, and they want to head their house because they are at a higher position than their husband. So you find a lot of the people in the society today anasemanga, if a lady is earning more than me, I can't marry the lady because atanisumbua, atakuwa kichwa ngumu, atataka kukua, she wants to be the head of the house. So I'm a Christian by nature, and by nature the man is the head of the house, and it is whether you earn more, whether you are smarter than your husband, whether you earn more than him, whether you have more property than him, you are a manager in the organization. All that ends where it ends. When you come back to the house, you're supposed to be a wife. When you come back to the house, you're supposed to be under your husband. The husband is the leader, he leads the way. But the society today, wanawake hawaambiwi. Wanawake hawaambiwi kitu. Women are, mimi sitaambiwa, mimi nimesoma. They call it, yeah, venye tu wamesema. Many young women of the generation have ruined their marriages in the name of civilization. Mimi nimesoma, mimi niko empowered, mimi sitakaliwa na mwanaume. You know, I don't understand what kukaliwa is. Like, you don't want the man to lead, you want to lead. If he decides to lead, unasema umekaliwa, and now you want to overturn things. And that's not how nature works. But that, I don't want to disagree with people on their issues. Now, who has to lead the house? But I know it is according to one person. And there's something they said about feminists that I found to be funny. So they said, so as they were writing about the book Nasirumbi's Fathers, formerly, Mzee Andrea feared that her daughter, so her daughter Nasirumbi, could turn into a toxic feminist and spew hatred on men and call men bad names like some women were doing. I don't know why I'm laughing at this statement, because a while ago I was reading a certain post on Facebook, and you remember when the issue about the Buddhas attacked a certain lady, and ladies came on their cases, and people started saying, oh, feminists wamekuja wamenza kelele, and then they started saying the way they are toxic because they only raise alarm when a lady has been harmed or abused, but they never raise alarm when a man has been abused. And then days later, a certain writer, she's called La Patrona posted on Facebook and asked, tell me, she said, give me wrong answers only. Yeah, it was on that line. Give me wrong answers only. Who is a feminist? Like how feminists are considered in Kenya. A feminist, so generally I think a feminist is someone who fights for equity and equality of both genders, right? The male gender and the female gender. But in Kenya, the feminists come through as these, you know, the way, like Kenya ukitwa feminist, it is a bad thing. And it's not a bad thing generally if you are a feminist in its real sense. But in Kenya, if people regard you as a feminist, one, they are either considering you to be bitter, two, you don't like men, three, you hate men, four, you are always hurling insults at men and stuff. So I read the statement and I am like, her daughter could turn into a toxic feminist and spew out hatred on men and call men bad names like some women were doing. So that's what feminists are considered in Kenya. Wanatukana wanaume, hawataki kuolewa, hawapendi wanaume. Everything about men, it is negative and negative and negative. But a true feminist, we don't really hurl insults at men, but I can say try to fight for equity and equality of both genders, but it's not a matter of trying to attack men and hurling insults at men. But I read that statement and I was like, this is actually a true perspective of what people see feminists to be in Kenya. That's why if someone calls you a feminist in Kenya, ni kama tusi, by the way, it is not a good thing. It doesn't come out as a good show, right? Yeah. So anything else that I highlighted in the book? No. At the end, Jakite and Nasirumbi come back together and they want to officiate their marriage so that the child can be accepted into the society, because the child was gotten out of wedlock, and they have a very big celebration to be able to get the child back. Right? Right. So I have seen something else I highlighted. So as Nasirumbi was being talked to by the aunt before she goes to get back married, the aunt tells her, because she was going back to Nairobi with her husband, and the aunt tells her, when you go back to Nairobi or remain in Kocholia or wherever you live with your husband, no matter what, be humble and understanding. I know many women are drunk with the fight for their space in the society today, but don't go to fight for your space in his house. If he truly loves you, which I hope he does, you'll find that space in your marriage. Women who have been in marriage and are out of or have refused to get married should never in your entire life be your marriage counselors. Remember that people hardly value things they don't have or failed to achieve. And I was like, the thing of, you see, where women felt for some reason it's like walikuwa wamekandamizwa sana, and they have been fighting for their space ever, you know, in the society. Like even at your workplace, it's like you're fighting for space, for your own space, and people tend to confuse it and still take it into their marriage setup, na italeta mvutano. I think that's what she was being tried to be advised about. But there's one statement I read na ikanifurahisha. It says, I must also remind you that marriage isn't a source of happiness. Happiness is a premarital asset. Unaonanga venye watu, people say they will get their fulfillment once they are married. If you don't have that fulfillment before you're married, you're not going to get it in marriage. If you don't have peace before you're married, you're not going to get it in marriage. If you don't have happiness before you're married, you're not going to get it in marriage. Yes. Another statement they said in regards to marriage. Hey, the reason some of you don't last in marriages today is that you let pride enter head because you are educated. Now, she was talking to the lady. Instead of fighting to be better women, you want to be equal to men. A woman will remain to be a woman and a man's helper to the last day. For your information, a man can date any woman, but when it comes to marrying, he'll choose a woman who can be a wife, not one who can be employed. What's the essence of having a working woman who cannot be a wife? Being working and single feels fanciful when you're still young and can have different men at will. But this lifestyle has slapped many women in late 30s and 40s in their faces. I am not going to give an opinion about this. I will not. But in the society today, you see the way they say women who get to their 30s and 40s and they're not married, and then they start saying, oh, these women are miserable. When they were at their prime, they refused to get married. Say they're not happy and stuff. It is catching up with them. That's the aspect they were trying to bring about. I don't know what you think about it. Me, I don't want to give an opinion about this. About people being satisfied and happy and working things out. No, I will not do that. Not for now. But that was it about the general things that I highlighted in the book. Yeah, I didn't highlight any other thing, but generally things that I felt he really highlighted that are very relevant in the society today: the marriage institution, women empowerment, plight of single mothers, and how things tend to change, especially for women when they get kids when they are younger and stuff. But I felt like it was a really good book at the end. At least at the end, it ended well. Ejakite and Nasirumbi got reunited and they went back to being a happy family, and that was good. It's a good read. Personally, I feel like it should be among the literature books we have in Kenya right now. And if you're looking for a Kenyan writer that you could read their work, because I've read these and I can tell you it's a good one, this is The Midnight Sun by J.B. Omukangala, and it's a good book. So you can find other books by him and see what they offer. Alafu pia, yes, I can lend the book to someone because I'm done reading it. Yeah, that was it about the book review of The Midnight Sun by J.B. Omukangala. I think I have owned up to what I was to do. So I am done, and that's it. So from me, it's a good night. I will read the next book, and I will come and do another review. So yeah, good night.